we were a little bit surprised when the record company finally decided to release that as the first single, because we thought that maybe Cherokee or Rock the Night would have been a better first single choice.
After the final countdown, is there a lot of pressure when you're going to get ready for Out of This World? Like, you need to do that again.
But the album didn't sell more than, I think it sold 2 million albums worldwide.
Right.
And at that time, the final countdown had sold like 10 million copies. So it was a disappointment from the record company. But then every time I went out to the lounge, it was Nirvana on MTV. So it was like playing nonstop, the way I saw it. If you don't want to record any new songs or write more material to this album, we can release it, but we won't promote it. That was basically what they said. Hadn't it been for that, for the synth hook, I don't think there would have been a final countdown at all. So I went up to him and I tapped him on the shoulder. Hey, Yngwie, how are you? And he was like, looked up at me, drunk as a skunk. Just, hey, the bread delivery guy. It was also a statement to the audience and to people that, okay, we're back, but it's our way. I hope you like it. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but this is what we do.
The hair metal guru from Warren to Crew. The hair metal guru. Never forget Charlie too.
I'm so pumped to welcome Ian Haugland, drummer extraordinaire, who auditioned for Yngwie Malmstein, played with Glenn Hughes, and yes, he's been a member of the band Europe for over 40 years. Ian Haugland, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, man. What an introduction. I'm honored and I feel quite old, I have to say.
Hey, I am honored to have you here, and it's, we're on 7 hours different time difference, so I'm assuming it's nighttime for you. So it's I really appreciate it.
No problem.
And so I want to talk a little bit about the history, but is it true that Europe is working on a new album?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're going into the studio in October.
Okay.
In Stockholm, in Sweden, in actually Benny Andersson from ABBA's his new studio.
Okay.
So we're kind of stoked to get going. Actually, the funny thing is that Europe's second album, Wings of Tomorrow, was also recorded in ABBA's Polar studio. The classic studio in Stockholm.
Right.
So, we're going full circle with ABBA now.
Yeah, right. And hey, ABBA's a pretty good band to latch onto as well,
Oh yeah. Timeless band.
Yeah. Do you have any idea of when is it gonna come out in 26, do you think?
26 definitely in the autumn. I guess around September, October.
Okay.
I guess we're gonna be doing some touring after we recorded the album in the summertime, some festivals and stuff. And then we release the album after the summer and head out on like a headline tour in October, November next year.
Okay.
So
things definitely aren't slowing down for you.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm excited to hear, and I know there's some other interesting projects that we're gonna get into, but I'd like to like when did you first kind of go, you know what, this drumming thing, this music thing, this is gonna be what I do with my life?
Right. Yeah. Well, my first memory of being sort of hooked on rock music was, I remember my sister, she had like a small collection of vinyl singles, and she had the Beatles' "She Loves You," and she used to play me that one, and I there was something in that kind of music that really hooked me onto the thing. But I guess the first time I really felt like this is what I want to do was when I heard, Rainbow Rising, Richie Blackmore's Rainbow guitar player from Deep Purple,
Yep.
and that album was the fountain of inspiration for me. We're hearing Cozy Powell playing drums
Yeah.
and Ronnie James Dio on vocals, and it was just and the music, the mystique. It was like nothing I ever heard before. And later on that year, in 1976, this was. I went to see Rainbow in Stockholm. They played live, and that was when I was definitely hooked
Right.
and realized that I want to play drums because Cozy Powell, he did his drum solo with a drum riser going up in the air and smoke and like flashes and stuff, and the power was just overwhelming. So I would say, yeah, it started there in 1976. That's when I really was baptized by rock and roll.
I think Rainbow was a gateway drug for a lot of young kids back then, right?
Oh yeah. It was a huge thing. The funny thing is, I got to have a talk with Ronnie James Dio in Tokyo 10 years later in 1986 when we were there touring, and I had the privilege to sit with him for 2 hours in this little rock club in Tokyo. It was actually the bass player Jimmy Bain's birthday party.
Okay.
So yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, this was like for me meeting God basically.
Yes.
One of my biggest inspirations, and I obviously I just told him how much Rainbow Rising and Rainbow meant to me, and he was like, "Yeah, really? Wow, I didn't. Rainbow Rising didn't sell that good." He said it apparently just sold a couple of 100,000 copies, which was not so good back in those days. But
Right.
that I mean, you didn't know anything about sales figures and anything. It was just the album, the record sleeve, and the whole thing that meant all the world for me.
Right. That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
When did you okay, so you get some drums because you're influenced, you see Cozy Powell.
Yeah.
When do you kind of go, okay, I'm ready to start getting together with somebody and we're gonna go out and try to do this in front of people?
Yeah, well, actually, I did that before I got my first drum kit.
Okay,
We were 3 or 4 guys at school, and so we were like, okay, what instrument are you going to play? I'm going to play drums for sure. I'm going to be the drummer. Okay, so I get to play some keyboards, and so we were just like tossing ideas who was going to play what.
Yeah.
And we got this little band together, so we formed the band, and then maybe a month or two later, I got my first drum kit from my parents,
Okay.
and they regretted that every day ever since. I was playing drums like a maniac in my room. Fortunately, we had a house in the countryside, so we didn't actually have any close neighbors.
Yeah.
So the only one who got a nervous breakdown was my mother, who was constantly trying to just survive this racket.
Right.
But that was my life. Everybody else was chasing chicks and riding motorbikes when they were about 15. I was sitting in the rehearsal room with the drums and just going nuts.
I was chasing chicks and riding motorbikes, which is why I have to do YouTube instead of being in a band like you.
Yeah.
So you start this band with some guys, and do you, before Europe, did you ever have anything that kind of had some potential? Maybe a band that could have done something.
Oh yeah. We had a band. This band got together, say maybe 2 or 3 years after I started playing drums, and we called the band Trilogy. It was a 3-piece band.
Yes.
And we were inspired by other 3-piece bands like Rush and Budgie, a band from England. Have you heard of them?
Yep.
Wales.
Budgie,
Yeah.
yep.
Awesome band. And so bands like that.
Yeah.
And I was also the lead singer in the band.
I knew that.
I played drums and sung, and then we have a bass player and a guitar player. And we did quite a few gigs around the Stockholm area, around the capital city.
Yeah.
back in the day, they had like every suburb had like a music society of where bands got together and so I got in touch with all these different musical groups sort of and started just communicating and calling them up and hey guys, do you know any place where we can play a gig? Yeah, we have that's uh, like a small club here that you can play. So we went around. I think we did quite a few gigs. And my father, he had an old Volkswagen bus where we just chucked all the gears and drum kit and everything, and
Yeah.
and he drove us around the Stockholm area for these gigs because we were too young to drive, and
Yeah.
so he was very supportive. And so we did. I think we stirred a little bit of a reputation of being an
Okay.
interesting live act.
Okay.
And then later on, we joined this rock competition called Rock SM,
Yeah.
which was the same competition where Europe
Yeah.
were in sort of, but they were called Force at that time.
Yep.
So we got to meet them in one of these Battle of the Bands competition things, and obviously we lost and they got to go further.
Yeah.
But they for some reason they remembered me as the crazy drummer that also was a singer of the band and
Yeah.
very passionate and very like intense. So that was, I heard later on, that was the reason why they remembered me and
Right.
I was the first choice when they looked for a new drummer.
So what happened with Trilogy? Did something go wrong, or was it just because, hey, you had another opportunity that you had to take?
Well, no, it kind of how should I say? The guitar player, he started. Maybe we should have a front man. Maybe we should have a singer. Uh, we were more like a four-piece band like Van Halen or Black Sabbath or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was kind of stubborn. I wanted to keep it a three-piece.
Sure.
But we actually had a lead singer for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and that was the bass player from Candlemass, Leif Edling.
Yeah.
He was actually the singer in that band for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
He couldn't sing, but he dressed very cool. so and I think we did a live show with him as well, and so it kind of, after that, I guess you start wanting to try different
Yep.
bands and stuff, so it kind of just disintegrated.
Yeah.
Well, it was a good start because we had a chance to go out and play.
Yeah.
Most importantly, to be able to go out and play, show your skills, and to get a reputation and just play live and to that's the main thing, I guess, if you want to go forward with the band.
Sure. So tell me, and is it right after Trilogy? Is that where you auditioned for Yngwie? Do you mind telling that story?
Oh yeah, right, that's right. That was in, I think, it was after Trilogy
Yep.
had folded, and I was in Stockholm. I went to some music stores, and back in the day they had like a displays where you could put your ads, and if you were looking for a musician, for instance. And I saw this ad, and it was like a very bad picture drawn of a guitar player standing in a castle, and very much Rainbow Rising inspired drawing.
Sure.
And it said Yngwie Malmstein, and no, it was just called Rising Force at the time.
Okay.
Rising Force is looking for a new drummer inspired by Paganini, Bach, Rainbow, Deep Purple.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, that sounds cool. So I just made a note of the phone number and called Yngwie up.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, do you play double kick drum? Yeah, sure I do. Okay, that was very important for him.
Yeah.
Double bass drum, double kick drum. So I went to him, and it was him and Marcel Jacobs, the bass player, that later on went on with him to America,
Yep.
and formed his band. So it was just us three, and but I was kind of, they were fighting all the time, in this little rehearsal room. It was basically just two Marshall stacks, one each for them, and that shitty drum kit that they had there that we're we're banging off.
Yeah.
But so they were fighting and screaming, and like a dog and cat all the time. And me coming from the suburbs, I was kind of a little intimidated by that kind of attitude.
Sure.
So in the end, they Yngwie said, like, yeah, we want you to start playing with us. When can you start? When will you come with your drum kit? And I was like, shit, I can't do this. So I just came up with some half-ass reason why I couldn't do that.
Okay.
Join the band. And I remember Yngwie was really pissed off with that because I had, turned them down basically, and
Sure.
he didn't like that. So I turned it down because of fear.
Yeah. And probably rightfully so, knowing what his reputation kind of ended up being. Did you run into him in the years after that?
Yeah, I did. When the reason, the half-ass story I came up with for not joining Yngwie was that I had been offered a summer job work.
Yeah.
For a bakery to deliver bread to old ladies. that was the excuse I came up with in a stressful time.
Yeah.
And then I think it was like 5 or 6 years later when we had the hit with Final Countdown, and he had a hit as well. And I met him I saw him in Stockholm in a rock club, and he was shit-faced, sitting by the bar. And I saw him, so I thought, well, maybe I should go up to him and just, introduce myself. And that was the first time I met him after that audition thing. So I went up to him and I tapped him on the shoulder. Hey, Yngwie, how are you? And he was like, looked up at me, drunk as a skunk. Just, hey, the bread delivery guy.
Yes.
So that story stuck to him, and I guess he was really, he was really pissed off by me turning him down,
Right. That's a classic story. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we turned down Yngwie, but Europe remembers you from this competition. When do they come out and say, "Hey, man, we have a need. Do you want to come in and fill this?"
Yeah. Well, that was in 1984.
Yep.
That was, after Trilogy was gone, and I turned down Yngwie, and I had some, different kind of bands. It didn't really happen anything really. And at the same time I was working at Arlanda Airport, just carrying bags and stuff like that. Yeah. And I was driving my little baggage truck at the airport, and I remember very clearly thinking that, well, and this was in the springtime in 1984. I was thinking, man, something's got to happen soon. Otherwise, I got to drop my, grow up and drop my, becoming a musician dream, because I was turning 20 that year, and I thought, well, maybe it's not for me. And then, maybe a month or two later, the Europe's manager called me up. It was like heaven sent. Yeah. So maybe I transpired some kind of energy out to the universe that, please come and save me. Right. And so he called me and asked me, well, Europe is looking for a new drummer. Would you like to do an audition, as it were? And I said, yeah, of course. This is the moment of my life, my chance. Yeah. So I just went and had a meeting with them, and we, decided on 4 songs that we were gonna have like a audition a week later. So I basically, went to the rehearsal room and up sitting there basically 24/7 playing drums, just listening to the music in my ear headphones and just trying to nail the drum parts.
Right.
So then when we got together and did the audition a week later, I basically knew the songs better than they do. So but it was just like we played through these 4 songs and then yeah, sure, man, you're in. So it was like, whoo, wow, amazing. That was just like, couldn't be. That was the best thing in my life at the time.
Of course.
Yeah.
And shoot, maybe if that hadn't happened, maybe you really would ended up at the bakery.
Yeah, exactly.
So the band was kind of established, and here comes you're the new guy. Did it take a while before you felt like I'm really in the band, or did you feel like they accepted you right away?
I think they accepted me right away. I felt like yeah, I was accepted immediately. I remember one thing that was kind of funny on the first show we did, that I did with Europe. It was like a small place in the middle of the woods in Stockholm, in Sweden, way out in the wilderness. And we were we went there with a bus and all the gear, and we had a small crew, and then they started, carrying out all the bags or all the boxes and flight cases and stuff. And I went back there as well, and I started, working, carrying flight cases and stuff. And they were like, no, man, you're the drummer, you're the star, you don't need to carry anything. And I was like, what? Okay, weird. I was just, that was just a normal thing to do to help out and to carry stuff.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I felt like, okay, is this what it is like being in a rock and roll band?
Right.
So yeah, that was one interesting episode.
Did you play on the Wings of Tomorrow album?
No. I played on Wings of Tomorrow came out earlier in 1984.
Okay.
And so they had been touring on the album for maybe a half a year.
Okay.
Yeah, so I joined the band in August. Right about around my birthday.
Right.
I'm born on August 13th, so so that was right about that time. So it was a great birthday present.
Hell yeah. And I suppose you remind the band frequently that they didn't blow up on radio until you joined. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So you joined in 84 and what do you remember about recording the final countdown? Was it a difficult experience, or was it like, hey man, I love the studio, it was awesome? What do you remember about that?
When we started off with doing like a pretty long pre-production together with a producer, Kevin Elson.
Yep.
So we worked on the songs in a rehearsal room for maybe 2 weeks or something.
Sure.
So we were pretty much we knew the songs and we knew the arrangements pretty well before we actually went into the studio.
Sure.
And I had a little experience of working in a recording studio, professional recording studio, before the final countdown. We recorded, we did a single version of Rock the Night already the year before in 1985.
Okay.
And in Stockholm. So that was my first real professional recording session with, to work in the recording studio. So I had that experience with me. And but I think as far as I can remember, it went pretty smooth in the recording studio. We recorded it in outside of Zurich in Switzerland,
Yeah.
in a studio called Power Play, I think.
Okay.
So that it was like the studio was in the middle of nowhere, by down by a big lake, and you had the Alps on the other side of the lake, and it was like no distractions anywhere. The only you looked out the window, you saw a bunch of cows running around the studio house. So we lived in the studio house as well. So the studio was in the basement, and we had the um, where we stayed on the top there. So we basically, you woke up and you had some breakfast and you went downstairs and you started recording. So it was a very focused time,
Yeah.
and so it went really smooth. I think the actually the song that was the hardest to record was the final countdown,
Okay.
because of that galloping kind of groove. Doom,
Yeah.
da, doom, doom, da, doom, doom.
Yeah.
It was kind of different from anything else. And so I remember we started working on that song one day in the morning, and usually we were done with the drums around lunchtime. Say we started at 9 in the morning, and then by lunch we had the drums down and could move on. With the final countdown, we worked until like dinner time, and Kevin, the producer, said, "Okay, I always failed on one spot, after the guitar solo or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly, but it was always the same spot. And after a while, that becomes like a like a hang up. So every time you get there, you fuck up.
Yeah.
And so the Kevin Elton said, "Okay, we'll give you one more shot, and if you can't nail it now, we'll just drop it and start working tomorrow again."
Okay.
So that was like I have to do it this time. It would have been a huge, setback for my ego and for myself,
Right.
reliance. But so I actually nailed it on the very last take.
Okay.
So, but it was, we almost renamed it to the final breakdown, because it was so, time consuming for
Right.
everybody. Yeah.
Right.
But other than that, it went pretty smooth.
So, I mean, Europe was a really heavy rock band. And was there any and further, I mean, like the song, The Final Countdown, is a heavy rock song, even though it gets labeled pop because of the keyboard, but you talk about the galloping beat. It's a really heavy rock song. Was there any apprehension about, guys, we're putting all these keyboards on, is this going to make us look too poppy? Was there any apprehension about that?
Not at all. I think that song, the song came from, it grew out of the fanfare, the keyboard thing. So it was written around that.
Yeah.
Hadn't it been for that, for the synth hook, I don't think there would have been a final countdown at all.
Sure.
So no, it was just well, it just grew out of the synth riff, and became what it. And the reason why it's considered by many as a pop song is just because it became a crossover hit.
Right.
So,
right.
But no, we felt that obviously when we were doing the mix and the mixing of the song. And they had, decided that this is going to be the first single for the radio. I guess they did the mix to suit, the hit radio as well. So maybe it's a little, pushed back on the guitars and more pushed up on the keyboards. But
on the keyboards,
but it worked.
It worked. Do you remember the first time, like when you heard the finished mixed product? Did you think, wow, we really got something here? Or what was your first impression?
Well, I remember, to start with, I remember the first time I heard the demo, Joey had recorded on his in his demo studio, and already then when I heard it in his shitty car stereo, I could tell that this song was totally different from any other Europe song and any other song I ever heard. Uh, I didn't feel that it was a hit song. I felt that it was very special.
Yeah.
And I think that same feeling stayed through the whole process,
Yeah.
recording it and doing the mixing and the end result of it was always like, this is not a really a hit song. This is a very special song. I think we were a little bit surprised when the record company finally decided to release that as the first single, because we thought that maybe Cherokee or Rock the Night would have been a better first single choice,
Right.
because it's more of a punch in the face
Yep.
rock song.
Yep.
But so we were a little, like, what? The Final Countdown, is that really going to be a head single for the album? But somebody in the record company believed it, and
Yeah.
for once, the record company guys made a right decision.
Yeah. That doesn't always happen.
No, it doesn't really. But it was, we were a bit surprised.
Sure.
But yeah, so it's. But then again, you can never tell what is a hit and what is not. So it was. But we made the right choice. Yeah.
Did John Norum leave before the tour for the Final Countdown?
No, the album was released. Actually, we did a tour in Sweden and Scandinavia before the album was released.
Okay.
Because I remember there was some, well, not problems, but some delays and stuff. Well, Joey had problems with his voice when we recorded the album.
Okay.
We recorded all the basic tracks, and the idea was for him to do all the vocals in Zurich as well, in the studio where we were working. But for some reason, he shot his voice, so he couldn't sing.
Yeah.
So we had to postpone the vocals a couple of months,
Okay.
and he finished the songs, the vocals in Atlanta in Kevin Elson's studio.
Okay.
And then the whole band flew to San Francisco, and we mixed the album at the Fantasy Studios in Sausalito, or no, not Sausalito, somewhere in San Francisco.
Okay.
So yeah, what was the question again?
So it was. I asked if John Norum left before the tour, but when did he leave?
Yeah, well, as I said, we did that Scandinavian tour, and then we went on a. Did we tour in Japan? Well, I remember we did a pretty. We did a Japanese tour.
Okay.
In '86.
Yeah.
That must have been kind of close to that Scandinavian tour, and then after that we went on a pretty heavy promotion tour throughout Europe.
Okay.
And that's when he decided to leave the band, because he couldn't stand, doing all these, as it was back in the time, when you were doing all these playback shows and just traveling around doing interviews for weeks at the time, and he couldn't stand that. He just, this is not what I want to do. I want to be on stage. I want to play rock and roll. And he wasn't happy with the mix of the Final Countdown, because he thought the guitars were too low in the mix and stuff like that. So he was a little bit, he didn't like that. So that's when he decided to leave. So right after that promotion tour, he left the band. I think. I might be mixing these, it might be that we did the promotion tour and then the Japanese tour. But after the Japanese tour, he definitely left the band, and and this was when the Final Countdown was just exploding all over the world. So we had to find a new guitar player, and very quickly so. we had just a couple of we just had a couple of weeks off between tours.
Yeah.
So we basically had to find a new guitar player within weeks, you know.
Yeah. So how did you end up finding Key Marcelo?
Well, the thing was, Key Marcelo had worked as a producer on a like a in 1985, the year before the Final Countdown. Joey wrote a song for a charity thing, you know, around the time of Live Aid, you know,
Yep.
and so this was like a Swedish hard rock version of Live Aid.
I've seen that
And
on YouTube. Yep.
yeah, it's quite dreadful. The video, the song is kind of, you know, it's a little ballad about, you know, in any way, it was released as a charity thing
Yep.
for people in need.
Yep.
And so he wrote that song, "Give a Helping Hand," and Key Marcelo produced it. So
Okay.
they sort of, you know, learned to, well, they got together and they worked together on that song. And also Key Marcelo was pretty much well known as a studio musician and had played with a band called Easy Action
Oh yeah.
that had released a couple of albums. And so we knew about him, and you know, we knew about his playing. And at the time, he was like the only choice, really.
Yeah.
We didn't want to, you know, we were talking about looking for a guitar player in England, maybe, or in America.
Yeah.
But at the time, we just felt like we're a Swedish band, and it's going to be too much of a logistic problem to try and
Yep.
find a guy. And you know, as I said, we didn't have much time to find one. So we basically asked Key if he wanted to join the band, and he said no, because he had just released a new album with Easy Action,
Yeah.
and he had been working with that on that album with the band for a long time. So he was like, I need to get this album out, and I need to promote it and you know, do whatever. And we said, okay, that's too bad. But then apparently a friend of Key Marcelo heard the story, and that he had turned down Europe, and the friend said, "Hey man, are you totally fucking crazy? You know, this is your chance to, you know, to reach your goals. You know, you can always go back and reform Easy Action if you want." So he called back just a couple of days later and said, "Well, if the offer still stands, I'm willing to take it."
Sure.
So there we were with Key Marcelo, and we basically, you know, had him in the band without any audition or anything. We just, you know, so it was intense.
Was there any, and I appreciate you going into so much detail. Thank you. Was
No
there
problem.
any like attempt when John was like, "Hey guys, I don't like some of this stuff." Was there any like, "Hey, we can change this," or was it like, "All right, man, I guess you're," I mean, was there a big conversation, or did you guys, how did he tell you that
Yeah.
I'm out?
Well, I think he was just quite frank. He just said, "I think this mix sucks. It's not good. You know, we should have more guitars." And we were, I mean, we were all four of us, the other guys, we were pretty much, you know, on to the idea of trying to make this as much of a hit
Yes.
potential song as possible. You know, so I guess we were more, you know, like we need to try this. We need to do this. We can always, you know, get back and make more of a rock song later on, you know. But let's go with this for now, you know. And
Yep.
this is our chance, you know.
Yes.
But he was very, you know, stubborn, and also I think he was kind of towards that Japanese tour that we did. He wasn't, you know, he didn't like the whole thing of becoming like a pop star, you know, and do interviews and TV shows and stuff.
Right.
He was very much like, you know, I want to play guitar, I want to be on stage, and that's it, you know.
Okay.
So I think he had his mind set up pretty much, you know. He was done with the band at that time, you know. He wanted to do his thing his way, And I think in a way, very stupid decision, I guess you could say, but at the same time, a very brave decision as well, because he just followed his heart. He just followed his own, you know,
Yeah.
inner conviction. This is what I'm gonna do, and I don't care about anything else. I'm gonna do my thing. So all hail to him for that.
And obviously, it's not like there was a big grudge because he came back to the band later on.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Um,
No, he was very. I think he was relieved when he left the band, to be able to do his own thing, and he recorded his first solo album, Total Control, and released that in, I think it came in '86 or maybe in '87, and it was very successful in Sweden as well, and so he was very happy with his choice of career,
sure.
and yeah.
Who did you guys tour with on the final countdown, or do you remember who you went out with?
Uh, I guess as far as I can remember, we didn't really have any. There were never any like a package thing
Okay.
or anything. We had some support acts, but
Okay.
we went straight from being from ground level to stardom in one shot. Just
Yeah.
because of the final count. It
Yeah.
was such a rocket ride. We didn't really have time to build.
Climb the
It just
ladder.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
yeah. So,
And so that song becomes like the biggest thing in the world. Did you ever feel like, okay, man, this is a little bit more than I was ready for?
not really. I mean, we were everything. As I said, it happened so fast that you didn't really have time to think about anything else, but then to go do this tour, do this promotion tour. So everything just went one thing after another all the time, and we I guess we just rode the train, and
Sure.
and
Sure.
and and tried to do it. And we were young, and we were like motivated, so it never felt like a big a strive for us or in any way. We just yeah, we loved every minute of it, so yeah.
Um, and this is the last question I'll ask about that song is obviously you don't regret the song, but did you ever feel like it kind of pigeonholed you into a certain category or like a pop category? Was that ever anything that you guys were like, man, this kind, there's some
Y-
negative to it?
yeah, well, not so much because of the song as a song, but I mean the whole media thing
Yep.
turned us into like a teeny bop band. We were in every magazine, and there were posters and
Yep.
silly clothings, and we so I mean they created this boy band vibe around us,
Yep.
even though we never really felt like it.
Right.
And so yeah, that was, I guess, the only bad thing around the final countdown, that we were pushed into that kind of sort of fold. I mean, we all always were hard rock kids from the suburbs, so but it's it's amazing how that song has just survived every genre, every 40 years later, and it's still as vivid as ever. It's weird.
I coach a lot of basketball, and you still hear that thing in high
Yeah.
school gyms in I'm in Little North Dakota in
Yeah,
America, and you still hear that thing everywhere anyway.
yeah, yeah. It's amazing. I mean, it's a lot of sports events, but also, like anything like elections and funerals and anything in between. It's always the final countdown. It's such a broad.
Yeah.
I mean, the lyrics, you can interpret it, and you can put any meaning you want into it. So it's a very universal song, and the hook, it's still as sharp as it was on the first hit.
Hell yeah. Did you feel a lot of after the final countdown? Is there a lot of pressure when you're going to get ready for Out of This World? Like you need to do that again.
When we started writing songs for it and started to get ready for recording it, I guess we didn't. I mean, we were very, very not so experienced. We didn't know exactly how the record industry worked and stuff. So for us, it was more like, okay, let's make another album and sell another 10 million albums. No problem. We'll get it together. So I don't think we experienced the pressure. The how serious it might have been as a band. We just, yeah, let's write some new songs. Let's record it, and it's going to be great. So well, we were calm in our stupidity, sort of.
I mean, and I've never been in a band, but I just imagine that after the final countdown, the record label is looking at you going, you better write another one of those songs.
Yeah. Definitely. They were on us all the time, but I think the manager had a good made a good deal with them, because we got to they didn't really stress us like, you have to write more songs and stuff at that point in any way. Because I know Joey wrote 10 or 12 songs, and those 12 songs stuck, and they are on the album. And Marcelo wrote 1 or 2 songs for the album. So we never really felt that kind of, you have to write more songs, you have to come up with a hit.
Right.
Nothing of that. It was more like, they had great expectations, and we recorded it in Olympic Studios in London, very expensive studio, and we recorded it with Ron Nevison, at the time extremely expensive producer, hot shot. He had done Kiss, he had done Ozzy Osbourne, and he had done Heart, and all these and all these bands had big hits at the time. So he was like a hot shot producer for for us.
And he was kind of known for that glossy kind of keyboardy.
Yeah, that's
sound.
True. That's true.
So,
yeah. He was, and he was suggested to us by the record company. You should use this guy because he can produce hits.
I'm sure.
So he was a good producer when it came to, as you said, the gloss and doing vocals. He was very good at producing vocals. Yeah. Not so much, guitars and heavy, like the heavy sound that we wanted, the analog, warm stuff. So, but I mean, he did a good production, I think. It's recorded on the first generation of digital recording equipment. It was like a Sony digital tape recorder. So I think listening back to it today, I think it sounds a little cold, sort of, the mix, but it's very clear and it's very transparent, as it becomes digitally, of course, and I mean, it sounded good, and in my opinion, maybe Out of This World is a more solid piece of work when it comes to songwriting than the Final Countdown is.
Okay.
Yeah, even though it doesn't have the, that hit like the Final Countdown. Right. Superstitious did pretty well, but yeah.
Was there Was the band all on board with the direction Out of This World took, or was there any kind of, oh, guys, hey, I think we should do this? Was everything cool with the band?
I think everything was cool. As we did with the final countdown, we had a pretty extensive pre-production with Ron Nevison. We went through the songs and into desiccated it into small pieces and went through everything and glued it all back together, and we rehearsed it at the same time. So we were very much in the songs and really, had worked the songs through, and we were all very. No, I think we were kind of confident that this is great.
Sure.
And there was just some song that the very last song, Tomorrow, like a very peaceful ballad with piano. And I don't think there's even any guitars on it.
Right.
In any way, some of the guys in the band didn't like it. Obviously, the guitar player, because he didn't get to play a guitar solo, I guess. But I think it's listening back to, actually, my wife sent me, a text message just a couple of weeks ago. I was laying in the tour bus, and it was like an English, like a lyric or of some kind, and it was a very sweet, loving piece of lyric, really, like touching to me. So I thought that I didn't know what it was. So I thought it was something that maybe she had written down, because she's very good with, coming up with this, small poems, really. So then I asked her, what is this? This is beautiful. Did you come up with this? No, are you stupid? This is the lyrics from Tomorrow. And I was like, all right, really? Wow. So then I all of a sudden I just, shit, that is a good song. Like 30 years later,
Right. Right. Was there any, and I've heard that there was a rumor that the band struggled with Key Marcelo in the studio. If you don't want to talk about that, I mean, obviously you can put it out the one song, but is there any truth?
No. During the time during Out of This World, recording of that album, there was no problems at all. Key actually acted a little bit as a producer, because Ron Nevison, he started working at 10, 12, lunch, and then at 4 o'clock he went home. He wouldn't work later. That was in his contract, So it was, and he had his own private Jaguar that he drove from his, luxury apartment that he rented. We paid for it. But I mean, we around 4 o'clock we were just getting started. We wanted to continue working till we were done, even if it was 12 o'clock at night. So Key sort of sat in as a producer guy,
right,
when after Ron Nevison had left.
Okay.
So he did a lot of work, and that was good. His experience as a producer came very much to pass for us, or was very good for us.
Sure.
So no, we didn't have any problem at all during the Out of This World research. That came later when we did the Prisons of Paradise album, which was a lot more troublesome.
Yes.
Not only not basically because of Key, but because of the record company situation and management situation and everything.
Yes. Was the band offered the song Look Away that Diane Warren wrote? Do you remember anything about that?
Oh yeah, that's right. I know Joey was handled a bunch of songs, but at the time we were very much like, no, fuck that. We can write our own songs. We don't want to record any cover songs.
Yeah.
So we turned it down. Yeah. We did that, and but there's another funny story. The song "Coast to Coast," the ballad on the album. Yeah. After we wrote it, for some reason, Rod Stewart got to hear that song from the publishing company one way or another. I'm not sure how it worked, but he heard the song and he said, "Man, I want to record that song. Can I have it, please, please?"
Right.
And we were like, "Nope, this is our song." so
Okay.
so we recorded it, and well, there you go. It's give and take.
Right.
But yeah,
I was just gonna say, so out of this world goes platinum. Um,
yeah,
but you know, I mean, not what the final countdown did, and you know, it's hard
that's true.
to meet. Was there any disappointment either with you or the label with how that performed? And
I
it's a
think
great album.
yeah. It's great, and we were very, we were pretty much sure that this album was going to be
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
And well, I remember we released Superstitious, the first single, around the same time as we went on tour with Def Leppard in America. And I remember the single started doing some chart action during this tour, and so everything looked, promising at that point. And I think one of the main fuck ups that we did with that album was that at the end of the tour we did with Def Leppard, they asked us, because they were riding high on the Hysteria success, of course. Well, rewind a little bit. We got on that tour because Def Leppard had released Hysteria like half a year or maybe even more earlier, and the album didn't take off really for them.
Right.
And they were going on this American tour, and they needed some band to help them sell tickets. Yeah. So they approached us and asked us if we were interested to go on that tour, and we said, "Yeah, sure, absolutely." And 2 seconds after we signed the contract, they got the phone call, "Pour Some Sugar on Me is #1 in America." So we got, a great tour. We got great pay from the guys. We didn't have to pay a dime to go on the tour. Otherwise, a tour like that would have costed, shitloads of money for the support act. Right. So we were, got a lot of free promotion during that tour because of that. And then at the end of that tour, for us, they asked us, just a couple of days before the end of the tour, "Do you guys want to continue touring with us, because we're going to go into play, huge indoor shows in the autumn and the winter, and this package works great." Huh. Unfortunately, we had already signed a contract for doing a Southeast Asian tour. So, being afraid of being sued and having to pay a lot of, damage money for jumping off that tour, we said, well, we better, fulfill our commitments, and maybe later on, maybe we can join you guys. Yeah, okay, they said. And I think we missed a huge, chance to really break America big time at that point.
Because that tour is probably one of the tours of the decade, the Hysteria.
Yeah, that's right. But we, So after that, in any way, we continued touring in around the world, in South America, and in Europe, and that tour was actually a lot bigger, a lot bigger than any of the Final Countdown tours, even though the Final Countdown was a bigger hit. Yeah. But
were you headlining those shows?
Riding? Oh yeah. It was, big arena tour, a big arena tour throughout Europe. Yep. And in the world. So we played 2 nights at the Budokan in Tokyo, in Japan, and all these classic places. Mm-hmm. So it was a huge tour. Yeah. But the album didn't sell more than, I think it sold 2 million albums worldwide. Right. And at that time, the Final Countdown had sold like 10 million copies. So it was a disappointment from the record company from their point of view. But we had actually a better tour than on the Final Countdown album.
It's kind of been pretty well documented that there was a lot of issues after Out of This World going into Prisoners in Paradise. Like after you
Yeah.
get done with the tour, what is the mood or the conversations between the band and the record label when you're deciding how to go forward?
As far as I can remember, we after the tour, Guns N' Roses had released Appetite for Destruction, and we liked that more of a raunchy kind of rock and roll attitude. So, and for us, with the Final Countdown had been pushed into that boy band zone, sort of, we felt like we want to regain the rock and roll territory. So we wanted to go the same path as Guns N' Roses. More of a more rougher kind of production and stuff like that.
Yep.
So I remember we were pretty much, everybody agreed on that, and even the management thought, yeah, let's go for it. I mean, obviously it worked for Guns N' Roses, so why not you guys? So we started to write songs, more songs from jam sessions and stuff. Maybe the key Marcelo had a guitar riff, or Joey or whoever had a riff or an idea, and then we would get together in the rehearsal room and jam on the idea and build the idea as a band, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember also we had a pretty strong idea of how we wanted to record the album. We wanted to do it more like maybe rent like an old theater or and just set up the back line and play as a live show, but without any audience, and record it as an album. That was our sort of what we wanted to do.
Okay.
And that was the ambition. And I remember we went to during the time when we wrote songs. We stayed in Los Angeles for a couple of months, and we were at the SIR studios writing and recording these jam sessions and stuff. And some songs came out of those sessions. And then we went on a short tour. We played in South America at the Viña del Mar festival, huge festival in Chile.
Yep.
And we had some days off before the show, and we decided we wanted to try and put a recording session together. They had like a small theater there, and we wanted to try that out, but it never really surfaced because we couldn't get it together. But we were really hot on that idea, to record this album live and then just do some overdubs and mix it.
Yep.
Keep the roughness of it.
Yeah.
But and then we went to San Francisco for a while, and we stayed there, and we recorded and wrote some songs, and we started discussing who was going to be the producer of the album, and all of us wanted to have Bob Rock, of course, because he had we'd heard the Sonic Temple album with the Cult, and he'd done Whitesnake. No, he didn't do the Whitesnake album. He did the
Dr.
Blue Murder
Feelgood.
album.
Dr.
Dr. Feelgood. Yeah, that's right. We heard that and the Blue Murder album.
Yeah.
And so Bob Rock was the number one choice, and we got in touch with him, and he was a little bit hesitant, but he said, "Well, okay, if you guys want to fly over to me in Vancouver, we can have a meeting and just see if there's sparks flying."
Yep.
So we flew up to Vancouver over the weekend from San Francisco, and had a meeting with him, and everything looked looked good. He liked us, and we, it was a good vibe, and we went to the Little River. Is that what Little River Studios? The studio where he
Little
recorded
Mountain, I think.
Little Mountain Studios. Yeah, that's right. Where he did the Motley Crue album and I guess most of his productions. And we really liked it and everything. So we said, yeah, this looks promising. Let's move ahead and see if we can get the deal together. And by the time he got the deal offer from us from our management, he just called back and said, "Well, I'm sorry, guys, I've just signed the contract to do Metallica's new album." So there you go.
Apparently, it worked out pretty well for him.
Yeah, it did. So we had to look for another guy, and another producer that we really liked was Bo Hill.
Yep.
He had done the Warrant, Alice Cooper, Rat, yeah, of course, and some of the bands that we really liked. So we had a meeting with him as well, and he was very nice guy and very dedicated, and he liked the bands and since earlier and all that.
Yep.
So we started working together and went into pre-production with him and also along the way we had at the record company we had a A&R guy who was really dedicated to us. What was his name? Something, not Bob Rock, but he had something with rock in his name as well.
Okay.
He used to play with a fairly well-known band before getting into the record label path.
Okay.
But in any way, he was involved in picking the songs and listening to the songs and coming with input in during the recording or the writing process. Yep. So we together we came up with a bunch of songs that we agreed on to start recording in the studio. Together with Bo Hill. Yep. 12 songs. I guess it was, or 10 or 12 songs. So we got together at the Enterprise. I think the studio was called Enterprise in Burbank, outside LA. And so we started recording there. It was a great vibe because we were all set on that rougher kind of sound. And I remember the drum room was fantastic. It was like it was up in the attic of the studio. It was like a warehouse, so it was really lively and really very loving the sound of John Bonham and Cozy Powell. Very much roomy and stuff like that. Yeah. And also another thing, the day we came to the studio to start setting up our session, Vinny Appice, who's one of my favorite drummers as well. Yeah, he was recording there with a band in the same drum room, so I got to meet him and go up there, and I was like starstruck and everything. So it was a good vibe, initial vibe, recording that album. So we started recording it, and it went furiously fast. I remember I put down like 2 or 3 drum basic tracks a day, which is really fast. Bo said that it's good if we get one song down per day, but I did 3 songs, so it was like, yeah, and I was just smoking, rolling for it. It was great. So and the whole recording session went very smooth up to one point where the record company guys were to come down to the studio and listen to the rough mix of songs. Yeah. And during the time of recording, at one point we received a phone call from the record company, from the management, and they said that, hey guys, the A&R guy has been sacked, or disconnected from the project or whatever. And then we heard that basically the whole staff at Sony Records had been, called off. So in the middle of the recording sessions, we have to deal with a totally new batch of people, record company people, and younger people that not necessarily fancied Europe at all. So when these new guys came down to the studio to listen to the rough mixes, they looked like question marks, like, okay, Europe. Well, we don't hear any hits. that was the first. And this was, like we had been on a roll up to that point, really self-confident that this is going to be fucking awesome, And these 4 new guys comes in and they just punch a needle in the fucking balloon, Poof. All the motivation went out the door, and it was like, okay, so we can record. We can. If you don't want to record any new songs or write more material to this album, we can release it, but we won't promote it. That was basically what they said. So because we don't believe in this material strong enough. So what happened then was that Joey went back home basically and started writing songs by himself, together with other songwriters, because the record company wanted that. Not that Joey wanted it, but the record company wanted him to write with great guys. I mean, like Jim Valens from Canada, Bryan Adams co-writer. And he wrote some songs with some other, not Desmond Child, but some other, fairly high shot guy at the time. And anyway, at the end of the day, he wrote 8 or 10 new songs. So basically, a totally new album, set of songs.
Right.
So before, and keep on sending these demos to the record company all the time. Is this good enough? Is this good enough? No, go forth. So it was like Princess in Paradise was the cold shower for us. The wake up call. This is how it works. And so in the end, from those 8 or 10 songs, we recorded, I think maybe 6 or 7 songs that then ended up on the Prisoners in Paradise album. Very good songs like Halfway to Heaven, I'll Cry for You, Mind in the Gutter. A bunch of great songs. So I think the album is in my opinion, it's my favorite album because remembering that positive energy and vibe that we had within the band up to the point of the needle in the balloon. And also I think it's the album that has the most really great songs on it. I think so.
I love that album. I mean, Halfway to Heaven should have blown up all over the world. I don't know how, but
it became a minor hit in England, I think. And I'll Cry for You became a fairly big hit in Sweden. But the thing was, after the recording of the album and through all the hustle with a record company, and at the time we also had a problem with our old management, so we got rid of them, and so we were a little bit in limbo and treading air sort of through at the end of the like putting all the pieces together and getting out on tour. We did a tour in a European tour, and but we sort of lost the flame. Sort of, we were burnt out a little bit. I think by the problems, and also we've been kind of heavily touring for the last
Yeah.
5 years prior to that. And also, you know, once the record was released, I remember when we were doing the end mixing of the album at the Enterprise Studios, and I went out to the lounge area, and they had a big, you know, like a TV there where they were playing MTV all the time. And one day I went in there, and it was like this punk band, raunchy as hell, called Nirvana. You know, playing a song called "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and that was, you know, it was like something, you know, totally different, and I didn't like it. It was like, this is fucking punk rock. I had this at the end of the '70s. Thank you. And but then every time I went out to the lounge, it was Nirvana on MTV, so it was like playing nonstop,
Yeah.
the way I saw it, you know.
Yeah.
And so by the time Princess of Paradise came out, it was, you know, we had already lost our chance, because the golden age of grunge was a fact.
Prisoners, at least in America, came out the same month that Smells Like Teen Spirit debuted on MTV.
Oh yeah, 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 that's right. It's I remember we had we had a release party in New York on Princess in Paradise, and we the record executive of Sony Records, he came to that release party to have some kind of an introduction, you know, to welcome all the journalists and stuff. So he said, and he was obviously totally, you know, not interested in doing that. He was really like, okay, let's do this. And so we went up on the little stage there, and he said, all right, I want to welcome all the journalists to the release party of Europe's new album, Prisoners in Disguise. The room just turned quiet, and all of a sudden a journalist said, "Prisoners in Disguise, isn't that an album by Cher?" Europe's new album, Prisoners in Paradise. He didn't give a shit, you know. And that, you know, that was the general vibe that Sony Records sent out from then on. They didn't give a shit. They released Prisoners in Paradise, Bad English, Backlash, Alice Cooper's Hey Stupid, and Judas Priest Painkiller as a batch to the record stores, and it was basically like throwing shit on the wall and see which one stuck, you know.
Right.
So that was just, you know, but that was the way it you know, it went down around that time.
What happened to the originals? I mean, because are they floating around out there? The original batch of songs for Prisoners.
Yeah. Well, there are some bootleg tapes that had snuck out, but I know that we have, well, some of the songs that we recorded at the Enterprise Studios and did rough mixes of, they but didn't end up on the album, have been used as B-sides and on some compilations.
Okay.
And I know that Key Marcelo has re-recorded some of the songs that he was main writer on.
Yep.
But other than that, those songs are that haven't been, you know, properly recorded and mixed, are basically unreleased.
Okay.
And in my opinion, some of those songs really, you know, would deserve a re-recording and a proper release, but we'll see.
That's, I mean, you know, like if you guys ever did a box set or something, or Prisoners and have these, I mean, that would be a big selling point for a lot of fans like me to go, hey, I'm going to go buy it again because I want to hear these original anyway.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm all for that idea. I think some of those songs are really amazing, you know.
Right.
Sure.
So, okay, grunge is exploding, Prisoners. I mean, it's, it's a great album. I did a video on it on the channel just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And a lot of people love that album, but it doesn't, succeed or, like you wanted it to. When do you decide, you know what? It's time to call it a day. Like the time is not right for us anymore.
Yeah, exactly. We did that European tour in the spring of '92, and as I said, during that tour, we went halfway to heaven became sort of minor hits in England and um, uh, halfway to heaven and the other song, forgetting the
Prisoners in Paradise or I'll Cry for You?
I'll Cry for You,
Yeah.
yeah, and also Prisoners of Paradise were released as
Yep.
singles and did fairly well, but we couldn't feel the joy of it. We were just like burned out and disappointed.
Right.
So at the end of that tour, we just said that, hey guys, let's have a break and see what happens.
Right.
We didn't split up the band, but we said this is not the time for us. We should not. And during the tour, we started, noticing that other bands like 80s bands started trying to, do a little grungier kind of style music, and we felt like, no, this is not for us. We can't do that. We can't follow a trend. We got to follow our,
Right.
our own trends,
Right.
the follow our souls
Yep.
and our own, what we want to do. So we said it's better that we just call a halt here and see what happens in the future.
Okay.
So that would be in spring of '92. Yeah.
Right. Right. So after that, and I appreciate your time, and I'm gonna, and
No problem.
thank you. You did a lot of projects after the band. You worked with Glenn Hughes, Candle.
Yeah.
Can you just, and I don't know, however much you want to go into it, but can you tell us about the '90s and what it was like going from a band like Europe that was so massive to kind of navigating music when our style of music is not really in favor?
Yeah. Well, right after I basically got off the tour bus in Stockholm, and the future was just like a big black hole, stepping into a big black hole. I didn't have any idea what am I going to do. So the funny thing was I started working at Arlanda Airport again. The same place where I worked before Europe.
Yeah.
So I was like full circle on that one.
Yeah.
And I remember I so clearly remember the first day when I got back to work at Arlanda, and I stepped into the lounge room, the lunch room, and one of the guys, older guys that used to work, obviously he'd been working at Arlanda all the time when I had been with Europe on this worldwide tour, with Stardom and number one albums and platinum albums and stuff. He had still been carrying bags at Arlanda Airport, and this guy, he sits there alone by the table,
Yeah.
and I come there with my lunch box, with really overcooked pasta and shit, and so I asked him, excuse me, can I borrow some of your ketchup? And he was like, just hands it over, it's not saying anything, hands over the bottle of ketchup. And I was like, and he looks up at me and he says, well, if I were in your shoes, I would have hung myself in the wardrobe. That was his, welcome speech. Welcome back to Orlando.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, if he would have gone through the same journey, he would have, taken his life. That was his hottest,
Right.
And I was just like, okay, well, sorry, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I need to earn some cash here, pay some rent,
Right.
But
Go ahead.
yeah, then I got in touch with other Swedish. I mean, I had a bunch of Swedish musician friends in Sweden. So we started, eventually I got together with the band, touring around in Sweden with different guest artists. It could be anything from reggae to pop and rock but I would say I played more shows during the 90s than I ever did with Europe because it was new. Every weekend there were new artists, new places, and new styles. And for me, I think it was sobering, and it was really strengthened my musical, how do you say, like self-esteem,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I got to play with so many different artists and so many different genres,
Right.
and I got to work with so many different types of personalities. So
Right.
I got a lot of experience from that, and I think it was very good for me,
Sure.
in that sense.
Sure.
So I played more shows with that band than I ever did with Europe.
I
And
think there's
then
I think there's a misconception, and probably I used to have this too, but now that I've been doing this for a few years, but like people assumed that by 1992 you were a multimillionaire and you had
yeah, yeah, yeah.
money fall, and that just wasn't the case with
No, no,
most,
no, no,
with
no.
everybody.
No, 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 no. Yeah, a lot of bands were ripped off by their managements and stuff like that. And same for us. It was a big management. Well, maybe not. Well, yeah, it was a rip off, and also it was bad managing because we instead of setting up companies for each band member and doing it the proper way, we our manager said, grab the money and get the fuck out of Sweden. So we moved to an island outside of the Bahamas, south of Turks and Caicos. Have you heard of that
That name
group of
strikes a
islands?
bell.
Yeah, yeah, it's a group of islands.
Okay.
Back then, it was basically deserted islands with it was like a hotel and a lot of bushes and a
Yeah.
lot of beaches.
Yeah.
So we moved there because it had no income tax, and but in any way, the only it was kind of easy for us to move there, but the thing was, since we were all registered in Sweden, the Swedish tax authority, they didn't see us as moving away, and of course they gave us a tax bill
Yeah.
in any way. So it was just, I don't know, it was just a fucking mess, and that was all because bad managing and bad management.
Right.
So yeah, it was actually on that album that we came up with a album titled Prisoners in Paradise, or it was our manager at the time, Herbie Herbert, the Journey's legendary
Yeah.
manager. We had him for a while. He was great. In any way, he called us up, in Turks and Caicos, and so how are you guys doing down there? Yeah, we're okay. A lot of sand, a lot of bathing, not so much songwriting. It's not so inspiring down here.
Right.
Just reggae music and and beaches.
Right.
Not our cup of tea. Well, you guys sounds just like Prisoners in Paradise. It's and
Okay.
we were like, yeah, okay, that's a good album title.
Yeah.
So it came from there.
Was
Yeah.
there when during the 90s, I mean, are you I'm assuming maybe you guys are all kind of talking like, like, hey, is that maybe we should try this again? When does that start?
Oh yeah, for me I mean, we went separate ways, and Joey, he did his solo things, and you know we all went separate ways. But I have to say, from day one, or you know, first day after the tour finished, um, I bump in with people, and they go like, okay, so are you guys gonna continue touring? Are you going? Because telling me stories about the significance of Europe's music and memories, and first time I kissed my girlfriend and now wife was when we heard the Carrie for the first time, and a lot of memories and meeting people every day. When are you guys going to start touring again? And why did you stop playing? You were great. And so I definitely had a feeling from the last after I stepped off that tour bus into that black hole. From
Yeah.
day one, I was reassured all the time that it's not the end. This is just it's a phase. Let grunge have their go and whatever is going to come in the future, but we will come back. I just felt that very strongly, and it was like a driving force within me. It just
Yeah.
I never doubted. So, but I think it was the definite realization that we should get it back together was um, in at the end of 1999.
Yeah.
We were offered to play on a huge Millennium countdown show in Stockholm.
Yep.
And it was like a big media company that offered us a shitload of money and to play Final Countdown and Rock the Night.
Yeah.
And I mean, since it was the end, the Millennium Eve, you could get a very good deal.
Right.
So we said that okay. We didn't prior to that we hadn't been talking about putting the band together or do anything right then, but we got this offer and I think Joey called me up and said, listen, do you think this is a good idea? Should we do this? And yeah, cool, absolutely, why not? So we set the band. We did a short rehearsal the days after between Christmas and New Year's Eve, and we rehearsed on the Final Countdown and Rock the Night, and that was the first time we played together in almost 10 years, I think. 92, well, yeah, between 92 and 99. So it was many years in between there. But I have to say, the first, we went into the rehearsal room, set up all the gear, and within 10 seconds we locked in and we were right back where we left off. It was like, yeah, just like someone telling us from above that this is it, guys. This is you 5 guys is the shit. Actually, it was 6 because Marcelo and John Norum were together for the first and only time on that show.
How was that decision, or like that both of them ended up playing that show?
Well, yeah. Well, the I don't know really how it came about, but I guess I mean, Marcelo was officially the guitar player of Europe,
Right.
And John Norum, I guess he was the original guitar player of the Final Countdown. So I guess we just wanted to make this a big fiesta, like a show off show, and everybody was on the idea and liked it. So yeah, and it was the first time ever that we played the Final Countdown solo, the guitar harmonics live. So it was good. It was good.
Was there any issue? Because going forward, John becomes the guitar player. Was there any animosity or stress within the band about that? Like, how did that work out with Key not going forward?
Yeah. Well, we after the Millennium show that we did and was really successful, and we just the fact that we played the Final Countdown into the next millennium was a huge honor for us.
Huge.
I was sitting there thinking, okay, 1,000 years back we had the Vikings, and 2,000 years back we had Jesus walking around, and here we are, getting into the next millennium. So it was a huge thing for us. But after that show, we basically went apart because Joey had another solo album to finish, and I think John Norum was playing with Dokken at the time, and in any way, it wasn't the right time. So another 2 or 3 years passed, and in 2003, right after Joey was done with his solo album,
Yep.
he called us up and asked us, should we have a band meeting? Should we just have a see where we're at, if there's anything interesting? So we had a band meeting at Mix Place in Stockholm, and it was us four without Key Marcelo. He wasn't invited to that meeting because we wanted to talk between the four of us. How should we handle this situation? And it was kind of clear that we wanted to do it with the original lineup,
Yep.
with John Norum, and we talked about what would it be like to have Key as well, but we didn't feel like it was going to be that vibe that we had around the final countdown. It would be more of a just something that we put together to go out and make an easy buck.
Okay.
So we decided that if we're going to do this for real, it's gotta be about the music. It's got to be about the develop Europe into something new, whatever it may be. We didn't have any idea about what it was going to be like, but we wanted to let the music take us on a new journey, and we wanted to do it together with John Norum. And obviously, Key Marcelo got to know about this, and he was upset, of course. I understand him, but it was a choice that we made, and I mean, today we were friends with Key again, so it's not a big thing. I think he understood the thing, the choice as well.
Yep.
But yeah, so that was in 2003.
Yep.
We asked, and then we, after that meeting, we called John Norum up and asked him if he wanted to join us, and he said, "Well, shit, I can't. Why? Well, I just accepted the offer to play guitar with UFO." so he was so he had to call Phil Mogg, the singer of UFO, and tell him, "Sorry, I want to go back to my old friends in Europe and reform."
Okay.
So, and then we headed off on the next journey.
Yes, and I just want to briefly talk about Start from the Dark, and then we'll get into what's going on now, and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Start from the Dark. You get back together with Kevin Elson. It's definitely a darker, heavier sound than what we had been hearing on Prisoners in Paradise and Out of This World. Was that the kind of direction that you had wanted to go on Prisoners? Or how did you guys decide that was the direction you were going to take? Because it was kind of a surprise to some of us.
Yeah, I think Mick said in one interview that Start from the Dark would have been the next album after Prisoners in Paradise, had it come, around that time. But almost like 10 years had passed between Prisoners in Paradise and Start from the Dark, and we all had, new and different influences along that timeline. So I guess John Norum, he was inspired more by bands like darker bands like Zakk Wylde and his band, and the heavier stuff basically. And Joey had he'd been exploring the more like singer-songwriter stuff.
Yep.
Focusing more on lyrics and stuff, and Mick had done his thing, and I had done my things. So we came into the studio with a new set of inspirations, and we didn't hold back in any way. We didn't go like, no, we can't do this because it doesn't sound like Europe. We just this is Europe, and we just went on with the song ideas that we had, and we decided on Kevin Elson because we wanted to, get back to that Final Countdown kind of family thing and see if we could pull it off. And he was very, I think he did a great job. You could tell that he was a little older and not so hot but he was willing to take on the project, and I think he did a great job, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it was a great reunion. It was a statement, you know, as you said. Doesn't really sound like anything
Right.
prior to that, but it was also a statement to the audience and to people that, okay, we're back, but it's our way, you know. I hope you like it. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but this is what we do.
I think it was an album that, like, at first listen, I was like, "Whoa, this is," but it grew on you once you
Yeah,
decided, you know what, I'm gonna give this some listens. Then you're like, "Wait, now I see, and now I start to get it." Anyway,
yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah.
so then you guys have released a ton of new music over the last 20 years, and
Mm.
you're record. I mean, you've been very prolific at a time where a lot of bands are just saying, "You know what? Forget new music. We're just gonna go out, tour the hits." What
Yeah.
keeps you guys? How do you keep going at a time where albums don't really sell like they used to?
Just the will to create, to keep the muse alive. You know, it's very easy to just go out there and only do the hits and to make a buck. But I mean, to us, it's always been the drive to create and to stay somewhat, you know, current
Right.
in a way, in our own way, I should say. So it's and we always, I mean, we were brought up on albums. We
Yeah.
were brought up on the fact that you put this song before that song because it leads into the third song that sounds like that, and then back on the, you know, there's a core
Yep.
of songs and how you pick them and how you,
Yep.
you know, so you start with a powerful song and then go a little weaker and then powerful again, and on the next on the B side, on side two of the album, you put the songs in a certain order. That's the way we are brought up on, and that's how we always been thinking. You know, we still think like that when we make new music. We we don't pick songs just because this song is, you know, we want that dynamic in the picking of the songs. You know, some lighter ones, some soft ones, some really hard ones, and very melodic.
Right.
So that has always been the driving force to create new music and to be on on a musical journey, you know, and to have the backbone that we have with the Final Countdown, Rock the Night, Superstitious, Princess Paradise, and everything, uh, to show for the audience, and also to be able to present new music as well. And from what I hear when we're out playing, most people say that the old songs blend in perfectly with the new songs because the way we perform the old songs today, we have a different, you know, self-confidence on stage today than we had in the 80s, I guess.
I think amongst the people that I talk to and in this community, Europe is one of the bands that gets credit for not just staying pat with how things were in the past, and that a lot of us love the newer catalog that you, so I salute you guys for still
Yeah,
doing so.
yeah, thanks. Yeah. It's always been the only way for us, you know. It's and it's been a while now since we recorded
Yep.
the last album. 2017,
2017.
Walk the Earth
Yep.
came out, and it doesn't feel like it's whatever 7 years or 8 years or whatever since it was released, because I don't know, the older you get, the faster time spins, I guess. But we we now finally are going to release a new album next year, and we're going to record it starting in October this year.
Are the songs
So
written?
yeah, most of it is done, I would say. I think I heard at least, I think we have more than that covers an album. So and you know what? The great thing with having 7 years between the albums is that we had time to really collect great material. So there's no sense of rush, uh, not the band rush, but that's no sense of rushing uh, around these songs. And the good thing with not having Sony Records, dictating, is that we can pick exactly the songs we want to. We own the recordings. We just bring them the like Led Zeppelin did in the '60s. They bring the master and say, "This is it. Take it or leave it." So
Right.
that's we're living after that formula these days.
Right. Right. I, I'm, I'm
So
I'm assuming it's way too early in the game, but have you talked about any sort of album title or anything like that?
no, well, we've been kind of feeling it out a little. There are some titles that might be suitable for album titles, but we know we also have the feeling that the album title usually present itself during the process. Once you get into the studio and you start recording,
Sure.
you get that, oh wow, this is a good album name. But I have to say this, and it's not like trying to sell the new album, but I have to say at this stage, I never heard this many awesome song ideas or finished songs as we have for this forthcoming album. It's gonna be really a case of kill your darlings when we start recording it.
Right.
They're so at this early stage still. They feel like very well thought through creations with compositions within composition, if you want, what I mean.
Yep. Yep.
Solo parts that are composed as as a totally new part. It's really inspiring. It's I think this is going to be the fucking greatest album ever.
I mean, I kind of get goosebumps hearing you talk about it because
Yeah.
I feel that, I'm pumped about it because I tell people, I'm like, man, if I just had to sit and listen to stuff from the '80s, like I would go crazy. Like I can't do that. I need to keep getting new stuff and exploring
Yeah.
anyway. So
Yeah. But I have to say this album is more of a sort of a homage to the '80s in
okay,
the
good,
sense of
good.
I would say a lot more melodic ideas, and as I said, melodic, like not solos, but melodic
Yeah,
melodies that carries the song.
yeah, yes.
So it's more of a homage to the '80s, I would say. It's
What do
really
you
exciting, yeah.
that okay? I love hearing that. How many shows are you guys playing like in a year usually these days?
Oh, it's we had a pretty busy summer, or this between June and now we've done 25 shows.
Wow.
So it's been okay. It's not super hectic, but it's been hectic enough for
Sure.
a bunch of old guys pushing 60s.
Right. Right. Is there what
Or
do you have going on for the rest of the year?
well, we're having August not off, but we're gonna continue working on the songs and rehearsing and
Yep.
feeling them and refining them. And then in September we're gonna be rehearsing with the band and getting the final stuff together. And then in October we're gonna head into the studio and so the recordings will be done early next year, and then the whole process of whatever
Yep.
producing and getting it out. So I guess it's going to be out. We're definitely going to try and release one or two songs, like singles or whatever you call it
Yep.
these days, during the year. Hopefully something that we can play, a new song that we can play during the summer.
Sure.
But we're gonna focus on the album release after summer, and then on during October, November next year is going to be a massive um, tour. And it's not only a new album, there's also 40th anniversary of Final Countdown next year.
Yes, that's right.
So it's, yeah, so I think the tour is going to be exciting in the way we're going to be, you know, I guess playing most of the songs from the Final Countdown
Yeah.
and a lot of new songs as well. So it's going to be a very rich and meaty show.
Is there any talk of maybe like a final countdown re-release or a box set
Uh,
or extra any talk of that for the
yeah,
anniversary?
well, I actually threw the ball up to Joey and I said, I mean, we have like a lot of old um, live tapes from the Final Countdown tour in '86.
Yeah.
Through mixing desk, set mixes on cassette tape.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, with today's technology, you can actually clean up these tapes and make it, and even with AI, I guess, go in and remix
Right.
final mixes.
Right.
So I presented that idea to Joe, and he said, "Yeah, you're right. That's a good idea, and we own the tapes, so we can do it, any way we want to."
Yeah.
Now, I guess the only thing is to since Sony still owns the masters to the Final Countdown. I guess it's a matter of getting something
Yeah.
going together with them, and I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but we've been bouncing the ideas
That's
about
okay.
doing something. I think that would be great because I mean I just listened through some of the live tapes from '86, and they sound really good. Really rough and really hungry, young and hungry, and that
Well,
stuff.
I hope that happens because I would love to see something come out from that era, and it's
Yeah.
exciting to hear about the new album and 40th anniversary of Final Countdown next year. Is there a Europe movie coming out?
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that. That is also heading for next year.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a documentary. Pretty much, summing up the Europe career from start to present day.
Okay.
So that's going to be out as well on, I guess, the bigger streaming services, and who knows, maybe even on a theater. We'll see.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We'll see.
And maybe I missed it. Do you have an idea of when it's going to be released?
Oh, I mean, we've been working on it for 3, 4 years now, and so I know it's in the very end stage of I
Okay.
think it's actually more. I think the whole thing is edited and done.
Okay.
It's just this bullshit with the production company getting rights from Sony to use music and all that dealing back and forth that I don't have any saying
Yeah.
basically.
Well,
So, but it will be out, I guess, first half of next year.
okay. Okay. I
Yeah.
love rock documentaries. I think your guys' story is begging to be told. And
Yeah.
I'll just throw this out there that whenever the new album comes out, or you are always invited back on if you want to come on and talk about the album or whatever. It has been just fantastic talking to you. Uh,
Yeah, man. Thanks.
there is europetheband.com and
Yeah, that's right.
and you have a Facebook and an Instagram page. So is there
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I don't know the whatever address you mentioned, but
Oh,
they will be there.
I have them, and they will be
Okay.
in the description, so people can go follow your Instagram, follow you on Facebook, or go to the Europe website. And is there anything that I'm missing that you would like to promote or send people to before we wrap up?
Uh, Not really. I think you said it all. And with your putting out the links to the social media things and stuff, that's great.
Yeah.
It's been an honor to be with you,
Yeah.
Anthony.
And you are such a, and I've listened to other interviews with you before I was doing this. You're such a nice and friendly guy. I mean, like I feel like I want to like go have a drink with you after this. Anyway,
Yeah.
it has been an honor to have you here. Like I said, you're invited on again. You're invited
Yeah.
on again. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. And it's because of you that I, like to talk so much. It's a give and take thing.
Yeah. Well, okay. I will email your publicist when this is coming out.
Cool.
And thanks again. I hope you have a good rest of your night.
Thank you. Take care now, Anthony.
All right. You take care, Ian.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye.